So once upon a time, there was this thing called Judaism. And for some reason, this thing called ancient Egypt hated Judaism. So they went up to the Israelites who were living in ancient Egypt and were like, hey, we're going to enslave you. And then the Israelites were like, can you not? And then the Egyptians were like, funny thing about that, you don't have a choice. And now we come to the story of an infant named Moses who was placed by his mother into the Nile River in a carriage so he didn't have to endure the horrible life of slavery. His mother, Jochebed, hoped he would be rescued by someone and given a good life. Eventually, he was found by the Pharaoh of Egypt's daughter, Bithiah, and was taken in as her son. When Moses reached adulthood, he finally figured out who he was, an Israelite, and was enraged at the Pharaoh for how he was treating his people. One day, he saw an Egyptian slave master harassing a Jewish slave. Moses was absolutely furious and killed the slave master. After he realized what he did, he fled Egypt and became a shepherd for the next 40 years until one day something odd happened. A bush suddenly lit on fire, and God spoke to him, telling him to free the Israelites. When Moses went up to the Pharaoh and said, "Let my people go," the Pharaoh refused. Moses again tried, but the Pharaoh kept refusing, again and again and again. Eventually, God got sick of the Pharaoh and cursed Egypt with 10 plagues, which were turning water to blood, spreading frogs everywhere, spreading gnats everywhere, spreading flies everywhere, disease on the Egyptian livestock, uncontrollable boils throughout the body, hail and fire, locusts spread everywhere, darkness, and the worst of all, death of the firstborn child. The Israelites were able to avoid these plagues by drawing lamb blood on their doors. Eventually, all this pain and suffering caused the Egyptians to crack and forced the Pharaoh to let the Israelites be free. And Moses gathered up all of the Israelites and they fled. And then they lived happily ever after. Never mind, Pharaoh changed his mind 2 seconds later and told his men to go after them. And when the Israelites reached the Red Sea, the Egyptian army was right behind them. And just when all hope seemed lost, the sea split. It was a miracle by God. The Israelites were able to pass, but when the Egyptians attempted, they were drowned. So that's why every year in April, we celebrate the gift that God gave our ancestors, the gift of passage and the gift of peace from the Egyptians. We celebrate it by eating matzah, which is what the fleeing Israelites ate because of how quickly it cooked, relaxing and reclining in our chairs, eating certain foods that represent the holiday, and of course, telling the amazing story of what Moses was able to accomplish.